Welcome to the Peak Performance and Peak Satisfaction podcast with Master Executive Coach Sherry Gregoff. Sherry helps business people perform better, get rewarded handsomely, and actually enjoy their work. After having her own career turnaround, she now helps other high-powered business professionals experience the same. Join the movement to work differently.
Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here. If a colleague has ever left you speechless in the moment, whether talking over you in a meeting, parroting your idea, or presenting a narrative as fact that you know is anything but, then you know how shocking and frustrating that can be. This week, we take on managing horizontally and all the growth available to us by facing these sometimes tenuous relationships head on. This includes knowing exactly how to respond in the moment, using your voice in a bold and constructive way. Before we jump in, I want to shout out one of my clients who had a win in this area. Here's the quote from her. After coaching with Sherry, I realized that I am warranted in asking the pointed questions of my colleagues, even if I don't have all the facts. I can speak up and share my views, even if I don't know 100% of the details, and I don't have to feel defensive. This will help us arrive at better group decisions. This client would feel floored when a colleague would pitch for funding for his product instead of hers in front of a large meeting of peers and 2 levels up in the organization. The projections were far-fetched, with no data or facts to back them up. In the moment, she would feel incredulous, and then fury. Any statement she could come up with in response sounded emotional and destructive. So, whenever this happened, she would go quiet, frantically trying to tease out the best way to handle while her emotions were boiling over. She would freeze with no suitable response to be uttered from her lips. In our coaching, she identified exactly what was making her so upset about this pattern, and then we set a specific strategy for how to respond intentionally and in the moment. We level set that it is the colleague who is pitching a business proposal who's in the defensive position, rather than my client who is challenging assumptions made in that pitch. With the right mindset and specific actions, she set off to claim her space around the boardroom and use her voice, feeling armed and ready to think on her feet and assert her views. Similar victories are shared by all of my clients, and I have experienced it too in my own career turnaround. So let's hop to today's podcast content and get you on your way to experiencing this also. We've all experienced it. That moment that became heated where, no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't find the words to respond in kind. The moment passes and you promptly spend hours, if not days, figuring out the exact zinger that would have put your colleague on their back foot. But when you are in the heat of the moment itself, your mind goes blank, or maybe goes red with rage, that leaves you decidedly speechless instead. Can you think of a recent example of when you wish you had the words, but none would come? I can. We probably all can. This is just one scenario that comes up in our interactions with colleagues at the office that can leave us baffled. You came to the right place. Today, we are talking about managing horizontally. As leaders, we're often consumed with how we're leading our teams and our communication channel with our manager, but there's a whole set of stakeholders who are horizontal to us within the organization. This could be peers or partners, in your function or outside of it. This is probably the set of stakeholders that comes to mind last when we're thinking about cultivating relationships, but might be one of the first pain points we think of when identifying interpersonal conflict at work. Why is it that our peers and partners present this unique dynamic? Allow me to digress for a bit. We got chicks recently. To be more specific, we took on baby chicks who will lay eggs as hens for us as they grow. I live on a farm, though our specialty to date has been forest and trees. We have always been interested in having chickens, and this spring we went for it. I confess that I am not a pet person by any stretch of the imagination, but I love these chicks. I even have them visible at all times on a Ring camera. Watching these chicks find their way as a small group, I've started to see some asserting themselves, wanting to be at the top of the pecking order. It happens in the hen house, at the school playground, and in the office. This natural pull to be in a position of power with influence over others. With our managers and our team members, the formal authority is already clear and sorted. We can rebel against it or shrink back in our roles, but on paper, it's clear. With peers and colleagues, it's not. I have a friend who has a male colleague keep giving her pats on the back, like a little too much of "great job with that," lending an air of thanks that one would give to a direct report. It's a passive way of hinting at his seniority to her. It becomes obvious when the motivation is not to give credit where credit is due, or to acknowledge and encourage, but instead to subliminally suggest that she needs, or would celebrate, pats on the head from who is her direct peer. This is in times of restructuring, when one of them might be chosen to lead. This pull to set the pecking order can be subconscious or conscious. I watched a business person recently give constructive feedback to peers while cleaning out her purse on video conference. Little eye contact, emptying each item one by one, and even shaking her purse upside down to rid it of the presumed crumbs at the bottom. Another lightly veiled power play, as though this conversation and topic is so inconsequential for her that she will casually dole out constructive feedback while taking care of a little light cleaning while her peers watch on video. I have a client who is often the brunt of mansplaining in the office. This includes senior leaders saying, "I heard everyone and I like this person's version of the story, so that's what we're going with." Even if that person parroted her idea, she is cut off, not allowed to finish her sentences, and excluded from her own client meetings. I knew a senior leader who was notorious for kicking off a big town hall by shouting at the team that coordinated the technical aspects to the large-scale meeting. What a way to show others your true colors, by putting down someone who is clearly doing their best to help the situation. We think sometimes that an act of aggression like that will get attention or command respect, but I have found the opposite to be true. It discounted that leader's words by showing how they would treat someone who couldn't impact the leader's own career success, but could certainly impact the success of the meeting. Actions like this can create a culture of fear, or not wanting to report mistakes or identify issues. Employees won't feel safe and will often misallocate their time to do anything they can to avoid blowback or similar public shaming. Another client's C-suite uses regular forums to berate and belittle presenters and business leaders in front of their colleagues. It seems the intention is to raise the bar on their standards of excellence and be highly motivating to excel. Instead, all it does is cause thousands of hours of preparation for the meeting itself to avoid the pain of public shaming. This is time that could have been better used advancing the actual business goals of the company, but were redirected to deck creation, mock Q&A, and honing presenting skills to survive the firing squad. Many quarterly business reviews and business planning cycles can devolve to this. Even in a competitive environment, these passive-aggressive moves can really alienate colleagues and even create enemies. In business, my, how the mighty fall, and the same person who one day is flexing a power move like these can receive the news of a reorg and feel completely exposed and turned upside down in their new role the next day. Knowing how fleeting that pecking order can be, and how people who were less revered or respected at the company can quickly change places, leapfrog, and be the very person your success depends on. Professional respect is always a winning strategy, not just for the intention to be a good human alone. So if you realize here that you've been doling out some power play moves yourself, arriving late or not showing for meetings, talking over colleagues or cutting them off, beware. Imagine that colleague just became your key dependency or your number one client or your boss. This is just a shake to remember that really, everyone deserves our respect and kindness. Whether this is a peer, a colleague several levels your junior, or the person who cares for the pantry, everyone deserves to be treated well and fairly. Whether you are the one receiving the friendly fire or taking the shots, here is what's underneath. If I keep the attention on them, no one will notice that I'm the imposter here. It's easier to poke holes in someone else's work than to do meaningful work myself. Back to the example in my client win from today of that peer presenting a pitch to allocate resources away from my client to his product portfolio in a smoothly delivered presentation, but without much data to back up projections. Using this as one example, if information presented is incomplete or inaccurate, it may be an act of sheer desperation. If I don't start adding some value soon here, I'll be asked not to come back. So even phantom proposals will be presented as though they are fully baked plans, sometimes just as a way to stay alive in the organization. Now that we know what might be compelling this person to speak out of turn, let's get to the fun part: how to speak up in a bold and constructive way in the moment. Step 1, ask yourself, what is behind your feeling of disagreement? What principle or standard is being compromised that has you in shock or disbelief? Use that very standard as a guidepost to reference for decisions and criteria for evaluation that can help orient and ground you and those you are interacting with in what can be an emotionally charged moment. I will offer clients refrains, such as, what's the right thing for the business? Or the right thing for clients. The thing that will let us sleep peacefully tonight with a clean conscience. If you feel the dialogue or department meeting has gotten so far astray from the principles at hand, this is a time to stop the clock, to huddle up on group philosophy. A great way to do this is with some standard openers. If these end up being statements that you use over and over, even better. People will recognize it as part of your leadership philosophy, and saying it aloud or sharing it with colleagues can become a great way to snap people to attention and even set an expectation that they know you call out behavior or proposals that go against these principles. Have you ever seen the show The Dog Whisperer? These dogs, large and small, act up and interact with other dogs and humans in ways that can be fatal. The dog whisperer nudges the dog with a psst and a physical, light but firm touch, usually behind the head. You can visibly see the dog knocked out of a point of focus, almost like waking from a trance. All due respect to our business colleagues, but these refrains or openers can work much the same way. Our survival instinct may be to put others down in the boardroom or speak over someone else as a way of asserting a power position. In representing the crowd, or just as a peer, that interruption of the state of the colleague and the vibe at the table can shake people out of old routines and out of thinking those routines should just be tolerated. I recently coached a client to find comfort with doling out these nudges. When the mansplaining is preventing her from finishing a sentence, and colleagues repeat her ideas in the same conversation to a much warmer reception, she can call out the behaviors. With the right level of confidence, this can come across playful and stern at the same time, enough to firmly shake a colleague out of bad habits, in fact. Having spoken up in the moment, we are far less bothered by the activity and step back into the power position that's rightfully ours. In this case, she saw that bad behavior. Stop immediately. One opener might be, I appreciate being able to finish my sentence now. In an environment where you are the one woman in a sea of men who keeps getting talked over and singled out, even if we're done mansplaining, I'd like to express my view on what we do in my own client account, could be the nudge that calls colleagues to attention. Know your crowd here and how firm of a nudge is required. In other instances, when a matter of ethics or competing priorities are at stake, it may be what's the right thing for the business or for the client? Or, how do we do the right thing here? Other situations spinning off into conjecture or personal bias or defending turfs or territorialism might get redirected by let's get back to the business facts. Step 2, keep it brief. I had a long-term mentor always quote an author from the New York Magazine in saying, be brief, be bright, and be gone. This holds for conflict too. A concise, however contradictory, interjection is more impactful than a winding monologue attempting to convince or defend your view. The best way to stay out of the defendant's seat is never to sit down in it. We tend to feel we need to back up our statements with a full research paper. My kids are learning this essay format in school right now, proposing a thought with all the backup evidence fully explained to make their argument robust. In the boardroom, we don't generally have time for all that. We may feel more comfortable armed with a lengthy PowerPoint deck with all the details and every counter-argument refuted. In a live conversation, not only is it unnecessary, but it weakens your argument by stepping into convincing energy. The thought that you've got to convert colleagues to seeing things your way immediately discredits your pitch. Instead, lay it on the table boldly, starting with your grand conclusion. Take that fully fleshed out essay with all the confidence the built out argument created for you and just drop the big takeaway in the conversation in a sentence or two. People can ask questions to better understand, but it pays here to be brief and be bright. Wrap your brilliance on this topic into a bold conclusion and share it right after your refrain and opener. You are redirecting the conversation to be principle-based and then offering a counterpoint. Step 3 is remembering that diverse perspectives is how we get to the best answers. While this conversation or moment may seem laced with conflict, it's often by design. We have conflicting priorities. We have different personal experiences and perspectives. We have different opinions on what is the best course. The underlying assumption is that if we get them all on the table, the combination will inform a better collective decision. It just doesn't work if someone storms out of the conference room, or hangs up on the video conference for themselves, or ends the video for all attendees as a mic drop, or like a cane yanking folks off the stage. These toddler moments mean that we aren't getting everyone's input on the table. The business result will be subpar if some players are dialed out or opting out of conflict or don't feel safe to express their contrarian view. Doing this work to use our voice, even in emotionally charged moments, is valuable to the business, to the team, to your clients, and to our careers. This is reason enough to work through the discomfort and use our voice. Another reason is to keep our sanity. Biting our tongue and holding on to the rage or releasing it by complaining to everyone you see is toxic. Facing the conflict head-on in the moment, in the most constructive way that we can muster, is far less damaging to our performance and satisfaction. Step 4, let it go. When you close down your computer for the day, turn off this interpersonal conflict too. Resist the urge to replay and ruminate in this event on your train ride home, or if your commute is a walk from your remote desk to the kitchen, resist the urge to share the play-by-play with your spouse and bring your colleagues and all the feels you have about them to the dinner table. Remember our friends who work in other industries, serving people whose lives are on the line in the ER every day, or walking into emergency scenes with casualties. It's more obvious to them, perhaps, the value of leaving the drama from work at the door, but it applies to us too, even with our comparatively benign boardroom drama. Take off the scrubs and the bulletproof vest and let it go while you return back to your real life. I explain to my clients that our work life inside the office or virtual conference room is like being in the Matrix. You know that movie, the red pill or the blue pill. You can believe that everything you take in within the workday is true and the scope of your entire life, feeling the energy drained from you by others for some other purpose. Or you can unplug at the end of the day and step back into real life outside those walls and know that lots of it is just perception. It's a world around a job that can be as temporary and fleeting as pulling out a plug. The real life that is always with us exists outside those walls. But to truly be present for our personal life, we've got to step out of and let go of that visceral experience that can occur during business hours. The caution here is that if we replay the problems of the day 24/7 with the people we care about, or in our heads during our precious sleep time, then we are never unplugged. All our energy is directed toward that one place. We start to believe it's real and that it's the full scope of our lives. It's just a habit that we can reset at any time, stepping out of the matrix and back into real life at the end of each workday. And if you're aces, for a lunch break daily too. When you are inside the workday, in the matrix, consider it like stepping into a TV sitcom. Lots of drama in every episode, keeping the audience on the edge of their seat, wondering what will happen next. Instead, take in the entertainment value and then let it go. When you wake in the middle of the night wondering who will be the next TV character to be killed off or whether a new character will be written in, stop and remember you are just getting wrapped up in the show. It's just a sitcom. It's just a job and the environment that comes with it. So now you've got your 4 steps for how to tackle conflict in the moment at work. Say your piece constructively and impactfully, and then let the cards fall where they may. To close out today's episode, I will point out a final scenario that can emerge after a series of these conflicts or years within a particular sitcom. We can start to build up a character profile in our minds. We can hone in on the shortcomings of a colleague or exactly how far off the mark they are for us and our expectations of them. We may make it a character conviction that they are bad people, heartless, unethical, self-serving. These observations or judgments imply that we are owed something better. We should have colleagues who are more like us, or more thoughtful, or caring, or just. We feel we are owed something that isn't being delivered on. But really, the truth is that the company doesn't owe us anything other than a paycheck. The company hired us to do a job, and we're getting paid for it. That was the agreement. Each day, it is our decision to give our time, ideas, and energy to this role or take them somewhere else. We are in control, and we have the power. But every time we say that these colleagues at work are bad people or nefarious characters, we put them in the power position over our well-being. We make it mean that by sheer proximity to us as colleagues, they can make us miserable. The truth is that our colleagues are not responsible for our happiness day to day. We are. When we feel dissatisfaction with our work environment due to colleagues or interpersonal conflict, such that we're locked into complaining, remember this phrase: hate it, change it. 4 words that one of my coaches shared with me years ago. If you hate it, in this case, maybe a work situation or a work environment filled with colleagues, in changing it, we have a decision to make. Number 1, change us, our thoughts and feelings about our work environment to be satisfied. Or 2, change our work environment by finding a new role. There's an important caveat here. If it's our thoughts and feelings causing the dissatisfaction, they will likely follow us to any new role. So no matter what, we want to clean up our thinking about our work first. We do this by getting in the driver's seat of our career, both in terms of career development and our day-to-day experience. This is why I guide people never to run from a job and work environment, but to always be sure you are running towards a specific job, because the drama we have currently can easily come with us if our thoughts aren't managed. Sound big or impossible? It's not. I take my clients through this each week. The workout for our minds. We build the new muscle and we put it to work. We control our thoughts and subsequent feelings at work. The number one way to steer our performance and satisfaction to the peak levels we seek. Speak up when you feel speechless at work amidst interpersonal conflict with your colleagues. Recognize the pecking order antics, but always speak your piece as constructively as you can to help the team get to the right place and to maintain your own integrity. Until next time.
Looking for support in applying the principles and strategies in today's episode? Sherry coaches clients one-on-one as their trusted confidant and advisor, helping each client create the work and life they had only dreamed of. To schedule your complimentary career strategy session, go to sherrygregoff.com/apply to book time with her today. It's one simple step that can change everything.